The most composed travelers you know are not better at packing than you are. In many cases, they are worse. What they have done is something far quieter. They have arranged their lives so that packing, the frantic late-night did I forget something ritual most women endure before every trip, has almost entirely disappeared. They do not pack well. They have made packing, as you currently experience it, unnecessary. And the difference between their departures and yours has nothing to do with skill or discipline or how much they own. It comes down to a single decision about when the thinking happens. Because most women who travel with any frequency know the other side of this intimately. The trip itself may be considered, the hotel chosen with care, the restaurants noted in advance, and yet the preparation for it happens in a panic, late at night, in the worst possible state of mind, drawing on reserves that are already spent. The result is a case packed by your most depleted self. For a trip your most hopeful self booked, we are going to close that gap entirely. What I'm going to share with you today is not a packing list. It is not a set of folding tricks, and it is not an argument for owning expensive luggage. It is a structural principle, the way genuinely high-value women remove preparation as an event entirely, so that leaving never requires a scramble. They are not faster packers. They have simply built a system once, and now it runs without them. The most composed travelers are not better at packing. They have stopped packing as a decision. The conventional advice about travel tells you to pack earlier and pack lighter. Make a list, lay it all out the night before, and there is merit in each of those instructions, but they all share a hidden assumption that preparation is a task you perform close to departure. That is precisely the assumption the composed traveler has abandoned. For her, the question is never, what do I need to pack tonight? The decisions were made long before the trip existed. Think of the contrast plainly. The conventional approach asks a tired, rushed mind to make 20 fine judgments in the wrong hour of the wrong day. The composed approach asks a calm, rested mind to make most of those same judgments once and then never again. Identical decisions, entirely different conditions, and the quality of a decision, as this channel has said before, is largely a function of the state of the mind that makes it.
In 1994, psychologist Roger Buehler, Dale Griffin, and Inui Ross published research in the journal Personality and Social Psychology on what they named the Bob fallacy.
The consistent human tendency to underestimate how long a task will take, even when we have done that exact task many times before. In their studies, people predicted they would finish a project in roughly 34 days. The true figure was closer to 55, about 2/3 longer than expected. Most striking of all, only around 30% of people finished by the time they themselves had been almost certain they would. We do not simply misjudge time occasionally, we misjudge it reliably in one direction against our own experience. Packing the night before is the planning fallacy made physical. You believe it will take 40 minutes. It takes 2 hours, and because you began too late, the work spills into the hours when you are least equipped to do it well. There is a second force at work. In 2000, Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper published a now famous study on what is called choice overload. They offered supermarket shoppers a tasting table of jams. In one version, 6 varieties, in another, 24. The larger display drew more interest, but when it came to the decision that mattered, only 3% of those who faced 24 options actually bought. Of those offered just 6, 30% did. More options did not produce better decisions. They produced paralysis. Now, consider what an overfull wardrobe is at 11 at night with a flight in the morning. It is 24 jams. Every additional garment you own is not a convenience. It is another decision standing between you and a closed case. Faced with the fear of forgetting, most women reach for the obvious correction: bring more. Pack for every possible weather, every possible occasion, every version of the trip that might unfold. It feels like diligence. It is the opposite. Each item added in the name of being prepared is one more option you must sort through at the other end. And we have just seen what too many options do to a tired mind. The overpacked case does not protect you from the morning standstill at your destination. It guarantees it and adds the weight of carrying it there and back. You did not bring more security. You brought 24 jars of jam to a hotel room and called it caution. The standard approach to travel asks you to make dozens of fine judgments about weather, about occasions, about what pairs with what at the precise moment your judgment is least available, about a quantity of options designed to overwhelm it, having underestimated from the start how long the whole thing would take. It is not that you are disorganized. You have been asked to do skilled work under conditions engineered for failure. The composed traveler does not solve this with discipline on the night. She solves it by ensuring the night requires almost no decisions at all. She has moved the thinking upstream to a calm, unhurried moment, weeks or even permanently in advance, so that departure becomes execution rather than deliberation. You would not negotiate your most important terms while exhausted. Do not pack for your finest trips that way either. The framework has 3 components. I call them the 3 curations, because none of them is a list of items to buy. Each is a decision made once in advance that removes a category of friction permanently. Together, they form a departure system that does not require willpower the night before. It simply runs. The first curation attacks the planning fallacy directly. The reason packing takes longer than you expect is that you begin from zero every time, reassembling from scratch the same set of essentials you assembled for the last trip and the trip before it. The composed traveler does not begin from zero. She begins from a case that is already half ready. Build, once, a permanent travel set that lives packed at all times, a duplicate of your essential toiletries in their own pouch, never unpacked into the bathroom, the chargers and adapters you always need, a folded set of true basics, a spare of the small things you most often forget. These items are not borrowed from your daily life for each trip and returned afterward. They are a closed category. They live in the case. They are simply there. The effect is quiet but transformative. The trip no longer begins with the question of what do I need? Half of that question has been answered permanently by a version of you who was calm and had time. You are now only making the decisions that are genuinely specific to this trip, which is a far smaller and far more pleasant problem. The principle beneath this is simple and slightly uncomfortable to accept. Duplication is cheaper than the cost of forgetting. A second toothbrush, a second charger, a small second set of the things you reach for every day. These cost very little once, and they end forever the particular dread of standing in a bathroom at midnight deciding what to unplug and carry. You are not buying convenience. You are buying the permanent absence of a decision, and that is worth far more than the few items it costs. The second curation attacks choice overload. The reason packing paralyzes you is the same reason the 24 jam table sold almost nothing. Too many options, each demanding evaluation. The solution is not to bring more so that you are prepared for everything. It is to bring less, chosen so well that everything works together. Select a tight capsule built on a single tonal foundation. 2 or 3 foundation pieces, a trouser, a dress, something structural, in colors that all agree with one another. A small number of texture pieces layered over them. A few anchoring details. 1 bag, 1 or 2 pairs of shoes that cross every context. The discipline is this: nothing enters the case unless it works with at least 3 other things already in it. The orphan piece, the one beautiful item that pairs with nothing you brought, is exactly the item that creates the morning standstill at your destination. The first 2 curations protect the departure. The third protects the arrival, the most overlooked hour of any trip. Most travelers prepare to leave home and give no thought at all to the moment they walk into the room at the other end, tired in an unfamiliar place, with a case to unpack and a first evening to navigate. That is the hour the whole trip turns on, and almost no one designs it. The arrival edit is a small set of decisions made before you leave, about your first hour after you land. 3 things, specifically. 1 complete outfit packed so it is reachable without unpacking the entire case, so that your first evening is already dressed. Your documents and the few essentials of the first hour kept in one known place, so nothing is hunted for while you are depleted from travel, and the first evening itself decided in advance where you will eat or that you will not, and what restoration looks like that night, so that arrival asks nothing of a mind that has nothing left to give. The first evening need not be elaborate to be decided. It might simply be, I will not go out tonight, I will order something quiet to the room, run a bath, and sleep early. Or, I have a small table booked nearby for 8, and the outfit for it is the one folded at the top of the case. Either is a decision, and either is enough. What matters is only that it was made at home, by a clear mind, so that the tired version of you who lands has nothing to solve and only something to follow. And the same edit quietly protects the parts of a trip no one photographs: the transit, the late check-in, the journey home. When the first outfit is reachable and the documents have a single known home, you move through airports and lobbies without the small, constant friction of searching your own bag. The trip feels longer and calmer than its hours would suggest because you are present for it rather than managing it. Here's what I want you to do today, not before your next trip. Today, even with no trip booked, because the entire point is that this happens when you are not under pressure. stronger. First, build the foundation of your permanent case. You do not need new luggage. Take a single pouch and assemble a duplicate set of your essential toiletries, the 5 or 6 things you cannot travel without, and do not return them to your bathroom. That pouch is now permanent. Add your spare chargers and adapter beside it. You have just closed forever the category of decision that causes the most last-minute panic. Second, lay out a capsule from what you already own. Choose one tonal family from your wardrobe and pull 2 foundation pieces, 3 texture pieces, and 1 bag with 1 pair of shoes, all of which work with one another. Photograph the set on your phone. That photograph is now your template. The next time you travel, the capsule is chosen before you begin. Third, write your arrival edit as 3 short lines in your notes. The one outfit you will keep reachable, the single place your documents will live, and a default first evening, the kind of restoration you want after a day of travel. Keep it where you will see it when you next pack. It will take 5 minutes, and it will change the first hour of every trip you take from here forward. And if you want one further degree of ease, photograph the inside of your permanent case once it is built, and keep that image beside your capsule template. Between the 2 photographs, you now hold a complete visual record of how you travel, the constant half and the variable half, and packing becomes, quite literally, a matter of matching what is in front of you to a picture you already approved on a calmer day. That is the entire exercise. 1 pouch, 1 photograph, 3 lines. And what it sets in motion is a relationship with travel in which leaving is no longer something you brace for. It is something that is simply, quietly, already done. What I have described is not a packing method in the ordinary sense. It is something quieter and more durable, a decision about when you are willing to do the thinking. The departure system does not ask you to be more organized on the night. It asks you to move the thinking to a calmer hour. Build the structure once and let leaving become the simple act it was always meant to be. The women who travel as though it costs them nothing are not lighter packers by temperament or luckier in their luggage. They have built the permanent case. They have curated the capsule. They have sent instructions ahead to the tired version of themselves who lands. And then they have allowed the trip to begin the way every good trip should, with nothing forgotten and nothing to brace against. You can build exactly the same, beginning today with a single pouch long before you have anywhere to be. And there is a particular freedom in this that is easy to miss from the outside. When leaving no longer demands anything of you, you begin to travel more. A long weekend stops being a logistical event to be weighed and dreaded and becomes simply a decision to go. So the system does not only make each trip easier. Over time, quietly, it gives you more of them. If this resonated, if you recognized your own 11 o'clock self somewhere in it, I would love to know which of the 3 curations you will build first. Leave it in the comments. And if you are drawn to the wider idea of a wardrobe that makes these decisions for you, the video on building a wardrobe as a system sits alongside this one in the playlist. The principles are more connected than they first appear.